Well, that doesn't seem likely in our lifetime, but Israel's military minds disagree. For instance, in an interview 5 years ago with a fellow named Major General Yaakov Amator, he was formerly the head of assessment for Israel intelligence. In other words, his job was to put together the large picture. He said this: unless or until Iran gets nuclear weapons, Israel today is more strategically secure than at any other point since her birth. That is the guy whose job was to put together the big picture on all of that. And the reasons he gave for that assessment when the Soviet Union has collapsed. Saddam and his regime are gone. Yasser Arafat is dead. Israel has formal peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan. The Syrians had withdrawn from the Bekaa Valley there in Lebanon. Israel has probably one of the best trained and equipped armies in the world. It has one of the most advanced and effective air forces in the world. And between 2001 and 2005, they had a 70% drop in terrorist activities. They become so much more effective at stopping those things. That leads to this conclusion by Joel Rosenberg. It's long, but it amazes me. He says, I certainly would not be surprised to see more signs of peace and prosperity, but with so many signs in place already, I am not convinced that more are needed. For the first time since the book of Ezekiel was written, it is now possible that the two prerequisites of relative peace and rising prosperity in Israel are already checked off God's to-do list. That stuff astounds me. That the things Ezekiel talked about are beginning to coalesce in our time for the first time. Right or wrong, but for the first time one can say, wow, some of this is really actually coming together. Now, not even going to talk about building the third temple, we don't have time, but do this. If you have access to a computer, or if you don't, go to the library, hop on there, do an internet search. Type in Third Temple and look at the dozens of groups who are at work, literally getting things ready, artifacts, furniture, robes, to move into the temple when it is built. The people in Israel in the last probably 10 years have gone from not much interest to an overwhelming, it's almost an urge to get that built. And there are groups that is their sole focus. To get everything ready when it's built, we'll move in and start sacrifices. It's amazing. So what? What if all this is true? What does it mean? How does that affect my life as a Christian? Go back to Jesus. Here in the passage, those 2 verses from Matthew, Jesus expected the people of his time to have been able to observe the signs, the Old Testament prophecies that they knew that indicated that here was the Messiah. He says, you guys had it, you missed it. You are not able to interpret what is happening right now. And I think likewise, we need to be alert, our eyes wide open, so that we can interpret the signs of our time. So let's say we do that. So what? Be prepared is the reason. Even if Armageddon does not happen in our lifetime, we are in a time of major cultural change and shift. Politically, economically, socially, it's all changing. And we, for the most part, we don't like it. We don't like the changes. They seem destructive. But that's the time we are in. Ephesians 5:15 says it so well.